Erev Tov, good evening, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
On this Shabbat Shirah, our Sabbath of song, when we hear the song of the sea, when we celebrate the legacy of Debbie Friedman, whose yahrzeit is close to this Shabbat, we lift up our own voices. We welcome each other in music. We welcome each other into this Shabbat of peace. We'll begin on page 24 in our copies of Mishkan Tefillah, whether it's the Kindle version or the flip book, or we have a paper copy, page 24, as we join in singing Shalom Aleichem. And on page 344, Shir Ladonai, Shir Chadash, let's lift up our voices and sing a new song.
Shir
On page 2, we find the candle blessing. And if you have not yet blessed your Shabbat candles, if you have not yet welcomed in the warmth and light of Shabbat, I encourage you to do that now as we turn to our cantor to lead us in the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu shel Shabbat.
We turn to page 20 and we welcome the Sabbath bride, the Sabbath queen, into our lives as we join in singing Lecha Dodi verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, rising to greet Shabbat HaMalkah in the last verse.
Shame, Tiferet, Veliti, la 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 la.
may be seated and we'll continue on page 27. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. We'll continue with Chatzi Kaddish, which is on page 26, the facing page.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה
Amen.
בעלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חולוי וימי חול ובחיי דחו בית ישראל בגנה ובזמן קריב במהרה
Amen.
אמן יהי שמי רבה ויברך לעולם ולעד מעליה יתברך יתברך וישתבח יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל שמי קדושה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבתה ונחמתה תמירן בימה תמרו אמן.
Let's rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah potech sha'arim uvitvuna meshane itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishratehem barakia kirtsono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umebi layla umavdil ben yom uvein layla Adonai Tzvaot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Hama'ariv Arivim. Please be seated.
And you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And all these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you will speak of them when you're sitting in your house, when you're walking by the way, and when you're lying down, and when you're rising up, and when you're rising
Top of page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. On page 42, we give thanks for the night and its rest and the promise of peace that it brings. Top of 44.
Shabbat השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת, שבת ויהי נפש ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדון אותה ברית עולם, ברית עולם.
Spiritually, physically, we rise for the Amidah.
Adonai sivatai tiftach u'fiyahi tahilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, let my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanurah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei Hakol, Bezocher Chasei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo b'Yahava, Melech Hozeh u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ezrat Sarah, Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Ata Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGashem, Mechalkei Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech noflim lerofech cholim, u'maytir asurim, u'mekayem emunato l'shenei afar, michamocha b'gevurot, u'medon elach, melech memit u'mechayeh, u'amat miach Yeshua, v'man ata l'chayot hakol, Baruch ata Adonai, mechayeh hakol, ata kadosh shemcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yhalelucha selah, Baruch ata Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
On page 253, page 60. We pray, as we always do, for peace.
Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Adon Elech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Ki Adon Elech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha libarech et Amcha Yisrael. Bechol עת ובכל שעה ישלומך. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim
Now on page 253, we pray for those who we know are in need of healing, the healing of body, the healing of spirit. We think of Cheryl Hampson, of Gail Dallas. We think of so many who are afflicted by this pandemic, by the pandemic of injustice. I would ask if you are thinking of someone who's in need of healing and wish to share their name, do so on Facebook, on YouTube, in the comments below, as together we pray for healing. We pray silently.
say shalom aleinu. Say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oh, say shalom b'imromo say shalom say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Oh, say shalom b'imromo say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael
We transition now to our Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our service for the reading of Torah. And for that, I invite you to rise. If you want to follow along, page 244.
מלך הכבוד, שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני, אדוני אחד, יאי לי 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 יאי לי
We may be seated. We should all have a copy of Exodus 15 handy that the cantor is going to chant from, as I said earlier, Shirat Hayam, the song at the sea. So we should have that either in a chumash that we have or online so that we can follow along. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Before we get to the chanting, a quick word. There are three interrelated moments in tonight's parasha that teach us something important about this moment that we're living in. Before the singing, the people are caught between the sea and Egypt's chariots, and they look at Moses with the panic and anger of the eternally oppressed, seeing their hopes about to be dashed, saying, "Was it for want of graves in Egypt that you led us out to the desert to die?" Those same Israelites, having crossed the sea on dry land, their pursuers lost in the waves, lift up their voice in song lift up the hems of their tunics to dance, euphoria waving over them. And then their song complete, they turn to the desert that stretches towards Sinai and suddenly realize all the hard work ahead. The physical challenges of feeding their families and defending against aggressors, and the spiritual challenges of taking on Torah, not just as a one-time event, but as an eternal commitment. And as it turns out, all three of these moments are equally valid. It is valid to feel paralyzed when caught between a rock and a hard place. It is valid to sing out in victory, to have a moment of profound spiritual catharsis. And it is valid to realize that the work is a marathon and not a sprint, and to feel at times overwhelmed as the journey stretches before us. We might be inclined to focus more on the trials that came before or the struggle that came after, but our text disagrees with that idea. Our rejoicing is valid. It is appropriate and it is holy. And its holiness neither diminishes the sacrifices of the past or the work of the future. If anything, it is informed by what came before and informs what comes next. Because, to paraphrase the poet Yehuda Amichai, before us is the desert, but also, perhaps, the promised land. May we find a way to reach it together. And with that, no more delays, so we can hear and follow along in Exodus 15, that song of the sea.
A word. I was just going to jump in, but for those who don't know, what is special about, there are many things that are special about this parsha and this portion in particular. It looks different, number one. If you're looking at an image from a Torah scroll, you will notice that while all around it is blocks of text, this is text separated by space. There are many reasons behind this, but the most prevalent is the fact that this is a shir, this is a song or a poem. We break from the storytelling, we break from the normal narrative style and go into poem. The cantorial tradition over the last thousands of years has been to combine both the traditional Torah chant with a melody that has been passed down based on the trope of the Song of Songs, from generation of cantor to generation of cantor. I challenge you and invite you to listen for the difference between the chant and the melody, and maybe mark them if you can. Later, pay attention to which verses have been switched to melody. Look at the translation and think about maybe why those have been emphasized. So this is Exodus 15, starting with verse 1, right. Let me fix my nose because it's אז ישיר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני ויאמרו לאמור השיר על אדוני כי גאו גאה סוס ורחבו רמה בים עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לי לישועה זה אלי וינבהו אלוהי אבי ברוממנו אדוני איש מלחמה אדוני שמו מרכבו פרעה וחילו ירה בים ומחור שלושה טובעו בים סוף תהומות יחסיומו ירדו ומשולות כמו אבן ימינך אדוני נהדרי בכוח ימינך אדוני תירץ אויב, וברוב גאונך תרוס קמך, תשלח ארונך, יאכלמו כקש, וברוח אפיך נערמו מים, ניצבו כמוני נוזלים, קפאו תהומות בלב ים. אמר אויב ארדוף אשיג אחלק שלל, תמלאמו נפשי אריק חרבי תורישמו ידי. נשבת ברוחך כי שמו ים, צללו כעופרת במים אדירים. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורדי לעוד עושה פלא. נטית ימינך טוב לי אמו ארץ, נחית בחסדך עמדו גאלת, נחלת בעוזך אל נווה קודשך. שמעו עמים ירגזון, חיל אחז יושבי פלשת. אז נבהלו אלופי אדום, אלי מואב יוחזמו רעת. נהמוגו כל יושבי כנען, תיפול עליהם אימתה ופחד, בגדול זרועך יודמו כאבן. עד יבוא רמך אדוני, עד יבוא רמזו קניתה, תביאמו ותטעמו בהר נחתך, מכון לשבתך. פעלת אדוני מקדש אדוני, כוננו ידיך. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, כי בא סוס פרעה רכבו פרשיו בים, וישב אדוני עליהם את מי הים. ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך חיים. ותיקח מרים הנביאה אחות אהרון את התוף בידך, ותצאנה כל הנשים אחריך בתופים ובמהולות. ותען להם מרים, שירו לאדוני כי גאל גאה, סוס ורחמו רמה בים.
Shkoyach. Nicely done. And for those who are inclined, Torah study tomorrow at 9:30 with Cantor if you want to explore that text more. We'll rise for Hagbah and Gelilah, the lifting up and dressing of our Sefer Torah, and we'll remain standing as we return the Torah to the Ark and for Aleinu L'Shabeach.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני דיין משה. ירדאי די 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 די
remain standing for Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 282.
Right. Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שננו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהן וגואלנו ככל המעולם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ובודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
We may be seated. And we turn to page 294. Page 294. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God gives, God takes away. Blessed be the name of God. If you are in the first 30 days of your mourning, the period of Shaloshim, I invite you to rise wherever you are at this time. And if you are in the first year of your mourning, I invite you to rise. And if on this Shabbat you observe a yahrzeit, the anniversary of a loved one's passing, I invite you to rise as well. And for those for whom it is a custom, I invite you to rise as we remember Debbie Friedman, as we remember those who have died from this pandemic, all those who have died of injustice, and we join in Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shemei d'Kudisha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shalom araba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We remember Byron Semeniski, Hirsch Wurzbecki, Herbert Edelman, Joseph Green, Sharon Caddy, Solomon Agus, Carl Coben, Harry Cohen, David Israelson, Morris Heisler, Harry Jacobs, Anna Kalheim, Joseph Calvin, Doris Kane, Sidney Pestco, Martin Polikoff, Samuel Press, Seymour Sands, Irving Wallace, Curtis Wheatley, and Morris Wolf. And if you have a name to add, I invite you to add it on Facebook, on YouTube, the name of the person you are remembering, and we say for all of them, Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be a blessing. Tomorrow morning, Torah study with our cantor at 9:30, exploring this Torah portion some more, which should be really amazing and wonderful. So hopefully you'll join her for that. Sunday is our Federation Super Sunday. And yes, that we still have a Federation and we still have a Super Sunday in the midst of all of this. And we know how important their work is, even and especially at this time. So if you get a phone call, if you get an email that day, I would encourage you to be responsive to it, to respond to it to the best of your abilities. And join everyone. If you look on the Federation's website and Facebook page, you'll see at 1 o'clock on Sunday, we're going to have a community service. Don't call it Federation Shabbat because it's not Shabbos, but a community service of solidarity. That's at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Lots else going on, including adult ed, including getting ready for Purim, getting ready for Pesach, all of those wonderful things you can find on our Facebook page, on our website, in our weekly email. And with that, as we conclude this service of song, as we extend our gratitude to Dennis Stewart, we missed last week because the internet was out in the building, our appreciation to Jeffrey Margulies for running tech this evening. We have one more Debbie Friedman song. Couldn't do this service without this one. If we turn to page 342, you'll know which one it is. Let's sing together.
It is so hard to believe, I'm just going to babble for a little bit, that it has been 10 years since she has passed. And like Rabbi said, it is hard to end a service honoring her music without this one. And especially because not only was Debbie a huge voice within the Reform movement and the music that came out of it and the American Jewish voice, she was a big believer in just the power of song. And she was a big proponent of combining traditional cantorial work and Nusach with modern liturgy, with the liturgy she was writing and her co-workers and her co-singers and song leaders were writing. And we raise up this song, we raise up all of our kavod and respect, and especially our voices for her legacy and all she has brought to us and to the American cantorate and synagogue. And the women dancing with their timbrels, oh, Miriam as she sang her song, sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every thread and every strand she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances towards the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels, followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. As Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the seas, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels, followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.